Welcome to Koala Gardens. I'm Katrina. So happy to have you here looking at the second of the top 10 reasons to save koalas in a shorter video, which is brought to you by the fantastic people who support me behind the scenes in so many ways. And for example, my ever-growing Patreon family, and I'm so thrilled to say, thank you to Clark Ko, who has just joined as our newest patron. It is fantastic to have you getting in and really saying how serious you are about saving koalas with me. One of the best things that came out of the whole process we went through to find what you all think are the top 10 reasons to save koalas was the way you all understood that everything is connected. That is one of the things that I've been hoping to really get across through my beautiful photos and videos of koalas over the years, that it's way more than one single species. And I want to acknowledge the Widjabul Waible people of the Bundjalung Nation, on whose land I'm so proud to live, work and play. Reason number 2 that was voted in to save koalas is because koalas are what we call an umbrella species. So that means that protecting koala habitat is going to protect other endangered species at the same time. You often hear me say that everything is connected, and this is where the umbrella species really come to the forefront of how important they are. Umbrella species are a key species in an ecosystem, and it's recognised that any work that's done to protect them and to conserve their habitat will impact on many other species who share that same ecosystem. An easy example is to think about the hollows that form in the older eucalyptus trees. It can take at least 100 years for good hollows to form. Now, koalas need these trees, but they don't actually use the hollows. However, by simply preserving the trees because we're protecting koalas means we are suddenly protecting the habitat for all of those other vulnerable species that do use the hollows. These could be species such as our vulnerable gliders, cockatoos, parrots, and lots of other kinds of animals. A host of species that aren't even considered vulnerable use hollows as well. There's lots of birds, marsupials, native bees and reptiles, all of whom need hollows in order to be able to survive. Now, just on Koala Gardens alone is the habitat for 16 vulnerable species that are known to be found in this area. You don't even hear me talk about them very often because a lot of you wouldn't even have heard of these species. A lot of Australians haven't even probably heard of some of them. However, I know about them and I'm often on the lookout for them. Quite a lot of these have been positively identified on the property already, and they include a vulnerable species of grass called the hairy joint grass, which is a wetlands grass, the wampu fruit dove, who makes an amazing noise that sounds a bit like whompoo, whompoo, the little lorikeet. Now, we've got lots and lots of parrots in Australia, and I get lots of parrots and lorikeets on the property, but this tiny little fella is in a lot of trouble. The squirrel glider is another one. Now, lots of people know a little glider called the sugar glider, and squirrel gliders are quite a similar size and look even fairly similar to the squirrel glider, but they are disappearing very quickly. The grey-headed flying fox. Now, interestingly, a lot of Australians have decided they don't like this animal because they don't want them living in large numbers near their house because, their poop smells. But guess what? The grey-headed flying fox is the primary pollinator for the 3 primary koala food trees. This means koalas and the grey-headed flying fox are incredibly important to each other, and there's a lot of people here in Australia working hard to save these little fellas. There's also a little tiny insanely cute microbat called the little bent-wing bat, and they're so small that they can actually look like a large insect when they're flying around. And of course, the koala is here. Other vulnerable species that I have habitat for on the property but we haven't actually found yet are the rose-crowned fruit dove, the red-backed button quail. Now I do see some of the common quail on the property quite often, the pale-vented bush hen, the grey-crowned babbler, another little microbat called the southern myotis, and the greater broad-nosed bat, and this insane-looking one, the eastern long-eared bat. I want to just make a note here too that the grey-headed flying fox is a bat, and it's specifically a fruit-eating bat. There's 2 other vulnerable species of flora on the property that I haven't actually located yet. Be amazing one day though if we did find them, and that's one called the thorny pea and the sweet myrtle. Even though these species are all vulnerable to extinction, I would never have gained a conservation agreement on the property for any of them alone, and I'm quite certain I would not gain any kind of a significant social media following that would last for decades on any one of them alone either. So this shows how important the koala is as an umbrella species, because it's just a sample of the vulnerable species that they might share their habitat with. They share habitat with many other vulnerable species in different areas of the country, so it would be fair to say that if we banded all of that together and succeeded in saving the koala across every state without thinking, we could be saving hundreds of other vulnerable species. The particular species that share koala habitat change between different regions, soil, terrain types, etc. And as you know, koalas are found right along the east coast of Australia, down into Victoria, and then there are even some in South Australia. So there are different vulnerable species sharing their habitat. For example, koalas in a forest with a good waterway going through it would also be an umbrella species for vulnerable species such as the platypus, some of the turtles, yabbies, frogs and fish. I think it's another great reason to save koalas, and again, I was so impressed that all of you knew enough about what's going on in this world to vote that as the reason into position number 2. And guess what? You've done it. You have just made it through another Koala Gardens video where I've broken down our top 10 reasons into reason number 2 so that we have some shorter snippet videos that can be used in educational settings, and even for those of you that find yourselves too busy at times and wasn't able to get through the hour and a half big long videos. So would you take a moment to write into the comments below, koalas are an umbrella species, let's save them all. Thanks so much for watching. There's lots more great video coming your way very soon. Another way that you can support the work I do here at Koala Gardens is whenever you need something new, like a new cover for your phone, a new pillow, a new t-shirt, a coaster, or even a clock, you can go over to my Redbubble store and have a look at all the designs that are there. There is something there for everyone, sustainably printed and posted.